Morning. Oh, whoa, why do I hear myself? What needs to be muted? That needs to be muted. I'm inside hood. Don't tell me what to do. You don't know where I am. Tell me what clothes I get to wear and how I get to wear them. Don't wear a baseball hat at the dinner table, young man. 35 years old. I do whatever the hell I want. That's within the legal realm. There's nothing illegal about wearing my hood up. What's the point of having a hoodie if you're not going to use the hood feature of it? Good afternoon. Also, that's the wrong your. You're looking for the U''RE. You're talking about my inside. That's not even the correct your for that. Yeah, I wish I could wear a baseball hat for the Overlord stuff, which I'm sure I could. The problem is, like, there's logos on everything, so I'd have to get a hat that doesn't really have a logo. Which I guess I do like stuff that I could wear, like, backwards, but I've also seen some things where, like, if you're at a certain age, you're not that you're not supposed to or you're not allowed, but society frowns on you wearing your hat backwards. But my wife says I look good wearing my hat backwards, so I'm going to keep rolling with that. Falco Flyer announcing, and I will read this word from word. Oh, happy wedding anniversary. I didn't realize that. As for my important comment, and this will be shared later on the Splatoon tourney Blue Sky, but I will be stepping down from LAN management, scheduling, and coordinating for LANs on Splatoon tourney. This will be handed over to Saf. I have an almost 2-year-old now, and life is not slowing down. Fair enough statement, Falco. If anyone could interpret that as you saying that you are retiring, maybe double check. Maybe reread that, because the word retirement does not jump out to me at all by reading that. That just says, hey, of the gazillion things I do, this thing I need to step away from or hand off to someone else so I can focus on other things. I did not glean retirement from that statement. And anybody else who did so, I think you're missing the point. That was like the second low tide city where I said, like, this is the last tournament I'm doing with Destiny troops, and it was. And Magic and Siren at the end of the tournament did this big, long, like almost a 5-minute eulogy of me, which was awesome. It was really nice to get. But I had to go clarify. I was like, they're doing this like I'm retiring from the community. I'm not. I'm just having a child. It's not like, don't. What? Thanks, but I'm not going anywhere. Indiana people root for either the Cubs or the Reds. Indianapolis specifically is 3 hours from Chicago, 2 hours from Cincinnati. It's generally those two teams. It was good knowing you, Falk. Thank you for all your hard work in the community, Falk. Look, yeah, like genuinely, thank you, but also not. Your legacy will live on. What do you mean? I'm still here. Don't. Stuff like that annoys me because, like, I want to keep getting these top commentary gigs. I want people to reach out to me and say, hey, can you do this? Do you have interest in this project? And when there's a narrative that, like, oh, you're retiring or you're stepping away or, like, oh, this 2-year-old's taking over your entire life. Like, you're not going to have time when the kid goes to bed to do stuff. That's what annoys me personally about things like that. And it's just like, come on. No, don't. Keep reaching out to me. When I retire, I will use the phrase retired. And I might be overreacting, Falco. I just saw like a few people mention that. I think it like in your server or something, and I was just like, what are you guys talking about? Did you read something I didn't? Because I didn't see that. By the way, shout outs to anybody who's watching this on YouTube. If you type in the YouTube chat, you're not going to show up in the Idiots in chat on the VOD. But I believe this will definitely help with the issue of people not, hey, where's the previous episode of the Popcast? It should be saved on YouTube now. I'm streaming live to it. One of the benefits of streaming on, streaming low ink. So I figured out how the IPL restreamer worked out. Can we get a Popgun documentary? That's a lot of work. If someone wants to make one about me, sure. I'm not going to make an auto documentary. I don't care enough to do it. The YouTube audience has always been my favorite audience. Yes. Because they have time to think before they speak. Whereas the Twitch audience is, well, you guys are idiots. Plain and simple. I already got but that's the thing. I already got a eulogy at the second Low Tide City. So, like, I'm not going to get another one. Like, look, I'm going to actually retire. It's like, no, you guys already did this for me. I might just do the Irish goodbye. I really like the Irish goodbye. I don't know if that's rude or not, but I like whenever I'm at, like, a party or something. Not that I'm, like, go to parties or anything, but, like, when I'm in a place with a bunch of people, I usually just dip. Like, when it's time for me to leave, I'm just gonna leave. Oh, you found an actual pop gun, like the toy of pop gun. Like, did it look like? I can't get my arm around. Did it look like that, essentially? I don't own a toy pop gun. That sounds like a not fun toy, actually. Sounds like a really boring toy. Staying up all night for the next global gauntlet. I almost did that. And I didn't like that. Wake up, pen. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you are still trying to catch up on sleep after Global Gauntlet, pinging me as soon as Super G took a game off of Gravity, drafting Ty Simpson with the 13th overall pick when you already have an MVP at quarterback, whatever it is that you're doing right now. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. I have been a busy beaver when it comes to competitive Splatoon the last couple of weekends. Last weekend, I did commentary for the second Global Gauntlet qualifier. And then I streamed and did commentary for Low Ink that same weekend. Then this past weekend, analyst desk for the Global Gauntlet finals, which I think we were at 1:30 when we did like the mid-tournament thing, and we were going to do one at the very end, and we're like, I'm not staying up till 4 in the morning, and who's even going to be awake to watch the final? Like, who's going to stay awake after the last match ends to like, oh, what is Popgun and K-Bot and Shadow at 4 in the morning? What insightful information are they going to say that's going to make me want to stay up longer? So we didn't do that. But then I also did the second block of the couch cast of the LAN Championship Showdown. So I've been extremely busy doing a wide variety of projects in front of the camera and some stuff behind the camera as well. And one of the things I learned while doing streaming for Low Ink was how to set up the IPL restream so that I can stream to both Twitch and YouTube at the same exact time. So this is live on both channels right now. And for those who, the very few who are watching this on YouTube, if you were to type in chat, I don't have it set up to where your chat is going to show up as the idiots in chat. So this is more so for those folks who... Where can I watch a VOD of the Popcast? Well, it should just be up on YouTube now, and then maybe it'll get fancified a little bit later. But we are now dual streaming. Shoutouts to the Wizards at IPL for helping me get set up for that. News of tournaments that may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. I was reminded yesterday that MomoCon is a thing. The MomoCon itself is going to take place on May 21st through the 24th at the Georgia World Congress Center in Atlanta, Georgia. That is in the United States of America. I don't know when the Splatoon dates are for that, but Splatoon is hosting a tournament. And if you're going to that or you're looking for a Splatoon tournament to go to and it is not a local, don't sit here and tell me that you want money to go to MomoCon because it is a quote-unquote local. No, it's not. I'm not buying that. But if you don't want to go to MomoCon and you want something to whet your Splatoon LAN appetite before Riptide, keep in mind that Get On My Level is going on in the summer. It's going to be July 31st through the 2nd, and that is going to be in Toronto, Canada. So there's not a lot of big name events going on this weekend. I think everybody's taking a deep breath in from what we've had the last couple of weeks. So it's a good time to plug some of those LANs that are coming up that aren't on the local side but are on the bigger-ish side and might even be considered a major if somebody can sign up and actually challenge Moonlight these times around. Today, we are going to be taking your calls. I am going to invite you guys to come on to the show and talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. We got a ton of stuff that is worthy to be talked about on today's episode of the podcast, and I want to hear from you guys. I will give you information on how you can join the show and call in a little bit later. But as always, if you don't want to do so, and you still want to interact in the show in a way that I'm actually going to pay attention to you, leave a highlighted message in chat. Whenever I'm done with segments, I go back through, I find the highlighted messages, and I'll actually read them out and respond to them, unless they are dumb, in which case you will lose the privilege to highlight messages in chat forever going forward, for the rest of your stupid, stinking life. But we're going to be taking your calls today. All that and more. But first, about a month ago, Falco DM'd me during a taking your call segment of the podcast saying, hey, I'm not going to have time to come on, but here's a question I want you to answer during the taking your call segment. Essentially, Falco was bringing up the fact that there are a lot of big events going on at the same time, mainly the Splat World Series and its affiliated events, Ludi, the Splatoon 3 North American League, and the LAN Championship Showdown, all going on at the same time. And essentially, the question was, is it a good thing that we have all these events going on at the same time, or does it kind of take away from each other? This came to a head this weekend with the Global Gauntlet Finals on Friday night leading into Saturday morning. The Splatoon 3 North American League taking place on Saturday night, and the LAN Championship Showdown taking place on Sunday night. All three events back to back to back, with Ludi playoffs and some finals of some divisions taking place at that time as well, sprinkled in throughout all of that. So the question is, are these events being stacked up against each other? Does that have a negative impact on each one of the events? Or does it allow each event to build up hype and pass it off to the next event and create what is ultimately an awesome weekend? I said at the time, 1 month ago, that I didn't know the answer to that question. I did not know how these type of events going right on top of each other were going to have an impact. Acing in the zone is not at the same level as those other events. Come on, you know that. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But all those events going on at the same time, is that a helpful thing, a hurtful thing? I didn't know. I mean, I had my hypothesis that, yeah, that is not a good thing. That's not ideal for anybody involved. But we've never had something like that. Yes, we've had big events go across an entire weekend. We've never had three separate things going on by three separate organizations at the same exact time. This is a first, at least since I've been paying attention to the scene since a little bit before the pandemic. But now that we've gone through it, now that we've gone through a weekend with three major spectator events going on at the same time, I can comfortably say, yes, it is not ideal that three events are going on at the same time. This is not the events don't benefit from each other when they're overlapping at this point. What you want with these big spectator events is you want a little bit of a build up to them, and you want them to be so impactful that there's conversations being had about that event for a little bit afterwards. The Splat World Series being the crown jewel of this, where we had 2 months to build up for it, and as soon as the event ended, we were having conversations about the aftermath of that tournament for about a month afterwards. That was awesome. This time around, though, the build-up for all these events at once, where the LAN Championship Showdown and Global Gauntlet are announcing, here's the teams that are playing this event. Like, we're both announcing them on top of each other. That kind of like lessens the impact of who's playing, because it's showing off at the same time. And you don't get that post conversation because you're already moving on to the next event. Okay, Global Gauntlet was awesome. The format was great. Everything that we looked at was unique and was really cool. Well, now we got to turn our attention to the Splatoon 3 North American League and then to the LAN Championship Showdown. So you lose the build-up and you lose the conversation afterwards when they're all stacked on top of each other. What's the solution to that? I mean, ideally, if we had to be the same weekend, Global Gauntlet being on a Friday, a day off on Saturday, and then the LAN Championship Showdown is fine. But you can't control what the overlords are going to do. Week 2 of the Splatoon 3 North American League got more viewerships than both of those events combined, and that's how it should be. There's nothing we can really do to compete against that big of a brand. But so some of these things are avoidable. Sometimes they're just flat out not. And we got to see it. I don't think this weekend was bad by any stretch of the imagination. I just think all of these events, now that we've seen them on top of each other, would have benefited if they all had their own little weekend dedicated to just celebrating those events instead of all at the same time. That's not to say it was a bad weekend at all. Let's go through all 3 events, and I'll share my takeaways from all of them before we get to taking your guys' calls. First off, we're going to go, obviously, in order here with the Global Gauntlet that took place on Friday, starting at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Last Splat World Series was infamous for how one-sided the West versus Japan was, and it very quickly just turned into an Area Cup Invitational. In fact, the teams from the West got eliminated so fast that in round 2 of Winners Bracket, we literally had teams that were gentlemaning each other to switch to the Area Cup stage selection rules, which was just random the entire time. They're like, yeah, we can't figure out this sendout.ink thing. You guys just want to do it? We always do? Yeah, sure, that's fine. Let's do that. we lost control of our tournament completely, both the TOs and the Western teams. But the whole point of the Splat World Series, the whole appeal of it was the West versus Japan, was to see not Japan play Japan the entire time, which was cool to see, but the point was to see more of our top-level teams going up against the best players that Japan had to offer or was available at that time. You barely saw that in the past Splat World Series. We make jokes, we make memes, we point out how the West only won one individual game and didn't win any matches. But the reality is, in that double elimination tournament, there wasn't hardly many games between the West and Japan to analyze or look at, period. Look at PXG, for example. In the Splat World Series last year, they played 5 games against Japan. Not matches. 5 individual games. 3 other teams played a whopping 4 games against Japan, and the other 4 remaining teams played 2. Free Flow got to play against probably the best 4-player combination that could ever be created, lost to them 0-2, and then their reward was playing Moonlight. And if they wanted to play more teams against Japan, they had to beat Moonlight. They didn't, and they're done. So that's it. They only played one team that was so far above them, nobody could beat them. And they played them once. And that was it. So that's, yes, did Japan curb stomp the West in the Splat World Series? Of course, there's no question. The point, though, is that there's not a large enough sample size to really tell, okay, is it just those teams they're going up against? Like Milky Way, in their 0-2 lost by 1 point both times. But they never got another opportunity to fight Japan because they got upset by Frutella and their tournament's done. Could they have taken, if they had a different team they're going up against, could they have gotten a win? We wouldn't know because there's not a large enough sample size. So that is the flaw that the Global Gauntlet format looks to fix. No matter what, if you play in the Global Gauntlet finals, you are getting 6 matches exclusively against Japanese teams the entire time, and they're all best of 5. So you are going to get at minimum 18 games against Japan, not 2, which half of our Western teams got in the Splat World Series. And this created a fantastic event. An event that had no winner, by the way. There's no top cut out of the group stage. There's no like, oh, you're the ultimate winner, because I think a couple of Japanese teams did go undefeated, 6-0. To the point to where I think one team went completely 18-0, the lobster pickup. Not much you could do about that. But this gives our players and our teams more of an opportunity and a bigger sample size. So is this fair to say, now that we have FT winning matches and PXG winning a couple of matches, is it fair to say that the gap is closing? No. What we're seeing now is just a larger sample size and more experience being gained. And that's what is the value that Global Gauntlet brought to the table this past weekend, that brought a grand finals type feel to every single event that was played, or to every single match that was played, even though winning and losing the match meant nothing other than pride. But man, did every single individual game feel important. The very first game that was completed in round 1 was FT Win getting a win. In fact, I believe FT Win started off 2-0 before getting reverse swept. So we had several matches go to a game 5 as well. But we started off the day 1-0. I was like, this is already amazing. It's a good event if you just want to spectate and not have to worry about the final result. That being, of course, if you took all night to stay up to watch this thing. And that's always going to be the issue in any event that we're going to do with Japan. We either have to get up at the crack of dawn, or we have to stay up super late. And if we're staying up super late, they're getting up really early. It's vice versa. It sucks for everybody. It's sometimes perfect for Europe, other times damn near impossible for Europe. Until we figure out how to colonize the moon, we're not going to get good time zones for like an entire global event. So there's always got to be sacrifices made back and forth. I would like it if this was more of a rotating kind of thing. It works out better for us and obviously for Europe when we start off the day. But then again, 7 a.m. for me is 4 a.m. for the Saps in California, and that's rough. Europe is perfect. And then you don't want to go too long because you don't know when somebody in Japan's mom is going to be like, quit playing that video game and go to bed. So there's not much you could do about that. The length of the tournament was an issue. Now, when you have best of 5, 6 rounds, think about that. That's low ink. We knock out 6 rounds of play all 3 in 3.5 hours. And we've actually got it down to about 3 hours and 15 minutes. We've gotten pretty good at that. This time around, you're doing best of 5 for 6 rounds. And my immediate thought to cut things down was, let's just make this best of 3. They're still getting 18 games, possibly. Like, let's speed this thing up. I'm starting to realize after FT Win played better the longer the tournament went on, and PXG lost their final, but they're playing the unbeatable team, so that's not really a fair sample size. But I was surprised with how much better these teams were playing the later it went on, even though we're getting deeper and deeper into Saturday morning, and Japan is just waking up a little bit more. And maybe like the Europeans by about round 6 is like, hey, it's actually like breakfast time. Like, this works out perfectly for me. There's some like minor changes that can be made between now and the next Global Gauntlet. But even if you don't make any changes from the TOing side of things or the format, just getting the players and TOs more experience with how to run this event, and definitely getting the Japanese players more experience with running things on Sindao and the strike system, and figuring out the language barrier a little bit better, and the why are they sending us an invite to the Nintendo app? We can just do everything right here. Just that experience alone can shave off close to an hour of playing time, because most of the playing time was just hey, you guys got to like strike a couple of maps here. Like it took longer for people to figure out how to strike things and how to get into lobbies and stuff than it was to load up into the game most of the time. So a lot of that can just be cut out, and that's going to make things a lot faster. And that just alone would make a huge difference, just experience-wise. But there's still like some minor tweaks you can make here and there that can make it a little bit faster as well. But regardless, even without that, this first qualifier was amazing. The production really started to come together, and just somebody who's commentating this and advises things. Just, I feel proud when I look on social media and I see people like Sindo and I see other top level players who aren't playing in it that are just watching it talk about how awesome this event is, how cool it is to watch all these matches, how amazing the production is. Like I'm not involved in the production at all, but I take pride in seeing positive things like that. So I know for a fact LEZ and the whole crew they got must be beyond thrilled with the feedback that they've been getting, the positive feedback, and where they can continue to go from here. But this Global Gauntlet fixed so many issues with the last Splat World Series. Now the Splat World Series is still coming back. There's still going to be eventually a world champion crowned. But this is a huge step forward in a good way to build off of the success that was garnished last season and benefits the entire planet as we do that. Transitioning now, before we get to the LAN Championship Showdown, the Splatoon 3 North American League, the event that took place later on Saturday, a little bit after the Global Gauntlet. Did anybody play in the league that also played in Global Gauntlet? Shadowwind didn't play, but was on the analyst desk with me and K-Bot. Did play in the league. I think everybody else is kind of... I think those two were pretty much separate. I mean, I know a good chunk of Europe participated, and they can't play in it. FT Win obviously did not play during the week. But as I've yet to talk about the league at this point, there is one thing we do need to bring up. The elephant in the room, and let's just get it out of the way right now because I honestly don't know what anybody's opinion is on this. But Leafy is officially playing in the league. Leafy, formerly of Jackpot, playing with Scuba this time around. And the longer the whole Jackpot thing goes on, the more revisionist history people have about what happened, what was said, how old the people were at the time when they said things. And the ban information seems to be completely distorted as well. To my knowledge, none of these players were ever banned from Nintendo. I honestly don't even know of anybody that's banned from a Nintendo event. And they still play in these things. But how you feel about Leafy coming back and playing, however you feel about that is how you feel about it. I am not going to come on here and tell you, hey, it's been 2 years. You're not allowed to feel upset about that anymore. Like there's some sort of statute of limitations on how you should feel about blatant racism statements being made. I'm also not going to be the guy who comes on here and try to say like that there's no growth, that there's no change. I don't know anything about that, and it's not my place to chime in on that. I will say that just from somebody who wants to see the growth in this community, I really appreciate how Jared has handled this situation. I feel like Jared has come out of the past Jackpot thing and has grown into a community leader. Zero, I feel like, has been very... coming off of their 1 year ban, has been very positive community person as well. And I would rather point to those who are, I don't want to say like rehabilitated, but point to those who have taken their bans, taken it the way they're supposed to, and have grown because of it, rather than people who I don't know information about. But the fact of the matter is, Leafy's playing. And that is how you feel about that is how you're going to feel about that. I was curious to see what would happen if Scuba was going to win, and there was a good chunk of time where it seemed like Scuba was legit going to run away with this. And they didn't. I think they went undefeated in the ladder stage, and then they ran into the group stage of top 8, and this is where we started to see Content Cat show their claws and step up and say, you know what? We're not going to get 0-3'd every single week. We're not going to just get 7th and 8th place. Let's flip the switch. Let's become a big boy Splatoon team, and let's go out and let's get 2nd place in this one. Content Cat, whoa. Whoa. When they beat Scuba, that was my first. I was like, okay, what does this say more about Content Cat or does it say more about Scuba? It says more about Content Cat because they beat Moonlight too. Yo, that was an eyebrow raiser. So Content Cat is one of the many teams when you start thinking about who the top 8 can be and you start thinking like, well, where does Scuba fit into this one? The club of the top 8 club, even though there's still 6 weeks left to go, it's already starting to look pretty thin as far as how many spots are going to be available for somebody to hop ahead. First off, Milky Way has won the first 2 weeks, mostly uncontested. So I think at this point, with 200 points and they can only get 2 more weeks worth of points, I'm pretty sure they could just play 2 more weeks blindfolded, finish middle of the pack in the ladder with all the low ink teams. And I think that would be enough points to guarantee they make top 8 now. So we can pencil in, no, they're mathematically not a lock to make top 8, but like all they got to do is check in 2 more weeks in a row and they'll make top 8. Moonlight, definitely going to be there. They finished 2nd place. I know they didn't finish in anywhere near where they wanted to finish last week. Does that kind of matter? Yes. Point-wise, standing-wise, does it matter? Not at all. They're going to have plenty of time to get more comfortable with... Oh, my gosh. Shadow looks insane with that Tri-Slosher. And how often do we say this about Moonlight switching their comp up? Oh, my gosh. Shadowwind used Mini. They're leading their whole team with their playstyle right there. And then, well, that gets figured out. Oh, man, this Tri-Slosher with Shadowwind is changing everything. How much longer is that going to last before Shadowwind goes to yet another different weapon and be dominant with that as well? Enemy finished 3rd place in week 1. They finished somewhere in the middle of losers bracket week 2. They're getting enough points. They're going to be a top 8 team. Content Cat, obviously, 2nd place. You get so many points from that. They're going to be a top 8 team without question. Just 2 more weeks to go. Duck Motif was a team that was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about you. You did play week 1. You didn't make top 8 week 1. Is this something to worry about? No, they come right back around. They get 3rd place the 2nd week. They're going to make the playoffs as well. Then you have the team that hasn't played yet, who I'm pretty sure is going to play at some point. Wasn't that the whole point of the trailer? Is FT win? Well, they got 6 weeks left, and they got to get 4 of these things in. But you know that FT Win, just by virtue of signing up, is going to be one of those top 8 teams. They just got to finagle their way through a top 8 enough times, and they'll probably win one, especially once Milky Way says we've had enough fun. FT Win, in theory, should be the top dog if Moonlight can't kick them in the shins enough time to knock them down. Hypernova 2. Hypernova is a top 8 team. Don't look at what they did last week. Just in your mind, just pretend they did not play last week, all right? They did good enough in the week that they did play, week 1, to make you think, okay, just 3 more weeks, decently, they're going to make top 8. So the amount of teams that are listed right there, Milky Way, Moonlight, Enemy, Content Cat, Duck Motif, FT Win, and Hypernova, that's 7 teams. And there's only 8 that are going to move on to the playoffs. So it's not just that. Scuba has to knock off one of those teams and take their spot, essentially, while at the same time holding off Usagi Fan Club, IFN, and SIZA. or anyone else that pops off into this tournament? Can Swarm be a contender down the line? I don't know anything about some of these other teams because the Battlefy results that you look on are non-existent since the community has left Battlefy for dead. But if you are somebody who is looking at who's going to make the top 8, the list is already very narrow of who can slip in. And that's going to be the talking point. There's still so much more to say about the league. There's so much more to say about the league. Is the format finally driving players insane? We'll get to that eventually. But there's one other major event that took place this weekend. You might have heard of it. It's called the LAN Championship Showdown. A production marvel. And it's insane watching it last night. Just like being in the staff server and just seeing all those voice chats lit up. I've talked about how crazy it is how the Ink TV League was able to function because they did 4 streams at once, all with commentators, all with like 2 streamers, 1 streamer and 1 person that was capturing gameplay so that you guys could see that tiny little map in the corner of the screen that I swear nobody actually looks at and is more work to put on than the actual value that it brings to a broadcast, other than the fact that you can just say, hey, look, it's there. That was a lot of work. This is that times 100. I mean, you got all these streams. You got an analyst desk. You got JPEG behind the scenes doing whatever JPEG is doing behind the scenes, wizarding all of these things to work out. Or I guess let's just say level 1. Shout outs to level 1 as a whole. But it's just an absolute production marvel, and it took a ton of people to make it work out. The good thing about the LAN Championship Showdown is it's an example of what the future could be. We get a lot of people who bring this up whenever we talk about the Splat World Series or whenever we initially brought up the concept of it. Well, when are you guys going to do like an actual World Series? Like the European champion versus the North American champion versus the Australian champion versus Japan versus Korea and Taiwan. Like, yeah, that would be cool to see. But think about what a world championship in that dynamic would look like. That's essentially every major tournament. It's just a giant world championship. FT Win, mostly United States. Milky Way, United States. Moonlight, United States. These teams are pretty much grouped up in the country anyways, except for Europe. You look at some of the top European teams, and this is just going off of the flags they have in their Cindo profiles. I'm pretty sure those of you who say you're playing in Antarctica aren't really playing from Antarctica, but Europe would just be the ones that get screwed over if you're to do that world tournament format. If you can't beat FT Win with the players you actually want to play with, how are you going to beat them when you are forced to play with only other Germans or only other French players or only other UK players? It's not going to happen, and it's not going to be super exciting either. But the benefit of doing an event like that, even though the United States would curb stomp because also PXG wouldn't be allowed to play, the benefit of that is not who wins the event. It's those little side matches between 2 rival countries going up against each other. Yeah, we're in losers round 1, but if I could say that Spain beat Portugal in the Splatoon World Championships, that would be awesome between those 2 countries, and that would mean a lot. And that's what you get at this LAN Championship Showdown. Yes, gravity's overpowered. That's why I put a bounty on them to see if we can make things more interesting. Never again am I putting a bounty on a team in a tournament that has Rainmaker in it. My bad. Not going to make that mistake again. But it's these little matches going on the lower end side of things between 2 different LAN locals that have like friendly rivalries with each other. when I was on with Stormy and Rocket, we were talking about H-Town versus Arizona. There's a lot of lands out west, a lot of lands out east that go up against each other in those little matches that don't mean anything as far as the final podium is concerned. But for the fan bases of those specific lands, it means everything. That's the cool thing that the Land Championship Showdown provides to the community. It is essentially the United States Championship. And think about it like this. The first one had 8 teams. The second one had 12, largely because the success of the past Land Championship Showdown sparked interest in people to try to create lands in their own cities or their own states. And eventually those lands grew to the point to where they got to be significant enough to where they could be an invite, a qualifier to the Land Championship Showdown. And there's other lands that have popped up that are in the infancy stages that can grow to be one of those Land Championship Showdown caliber events down the line. So think about it like this. 12 teams this year, and this isn't me putting more work on somebody else, but if you could just imagine 5 years from now and you look back and say, you remember when there was only 12 teams playing in this thing? And now there's 24. Now there's 30 different ones of them. It's like every time the NCAA bracket, should we extend this to 64 teams? Well, there's 64 teams that are qualified, that are worthy of this. As more of these lands start to pop up because of the success and inspiration of the Land Championship Showdown, this thing could grow even more. And with that, this could be something that turns into the United States and Canada and Mexico and anywhere else that has a land championship. And then you'll get more of those rivalries and those side conversations. And the fact that every single stinking match is streamed on this thing with the little red zone coverage channel, it's perfect. It's perfect. Now, with the viewership for this thing, is it where they wanted it? No, it's not. It's not. They got about 200, and I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. Like that's not where they wanted that number to be. But nobody is getting the viewership numbers that they want now. Nobody is. I bet if you ask the overlords with the numbers they're getting, they're probably not. It's probably not even where they want it to be. I know Low Ink is not what it used to be. I know Global Gauntlet was pretty good for a 2 a.m. tournament going on, but you would still like to see a lot better with the type of quality that's being put on, the production for this. Everybody wants more viewership. So I don't think it's fair to look at the lesser numbers that Land Championship Showdown got and say, like anything negative other than that's just the sign of the times now. They're still getting more viewers than all these other events are been getting. And that's a cool thing. But with all three of these events overlapping with each other, I want to get your guys' thoughts on these events coming up when we take your calls. With all these events overlapping with each other, the one common denominator between all of them is that you're seeing growth in the heart of the Splatoon community. Whether it's the connection between Japan and the rest of the world for something we haven't seen in many years, we're seeing more of a connection with that. Whether you're seeing the growth of lands, that's all coming at the grassroots level. And on top of it, you are seeing the actual developer of the game continue to invest in this game that is predominantly played on a obsolete console still. You're seeing a lot of different folks investing in this community and seeing where we can take this thing. And you can see you can start to envision what a 5-10 year plan of this community could look like. And this weekend is a catalyst for what the future can be. And it's really awesome to see. I want to hear your guys' thoughts though. We are going to be opening up the phone lines now. If you go to the IPL public Discord server, go to the Popcast, taking your call. We're going to start the stage taking your calls. We're not going to ping everyone. If you join that VC, raise your hand. We will bring you on one at a time to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. And phone lines are open now while you guys hop in and start raising your hands, we are going to move on to the weekly recap. Paddling pool number 336 took place last Wednesday. It was won by Epitaph. Goop finished in second place, and Cheeses rounds out your top three. Hey, Cheeses all claims to be from Germany, but that Epitaph team, if you want to do a world championship, not a single one of the players on the team that won paddling pool could play with each other because they're all representing different countries as far as their Sindo flags are concerned. Moving on to Swimmer Sync that took place later that night. It was won by Machine Love. Again, all four players with different countries in their flag. The SOS Villains. Everybody needs a villain to finish in second place. And Attention rounds out your top three. 42 teams played in this edition of SOS as Ludi starts to wind down. Hammerhead bracket was won by Apple. Mako bracket was won by 2-0 because I hate Theo. Poor Theo. And Lantern bracket was won by your favorite team and mine, Malibu Rising. Atta boys, I see you. Triton Cup took place on Friday. 27 teams played in it. Super Galarzo won this tournament. Epitaph finished in second place, picking up an American, obviously dragged them down to not be in the first place like they were in paddling pool. And Need Pen DM rounds out your top three. Splat zones only. I saw Skepidillions bringing up a point of why are more Splat Zone tournaments not all stages? Is Triton Cup not that, or is there limited stages that Triton Cup uses in their Splat Zones only tournament? I honestly wouldn't know. So I'm asking you guys. You come on the show and tell me. From the Ink Up number 101 took place on Friday night, literally right before this Global Gauntlet took place. The Mock Riders ended up winning this tournament, with second place going to Obsidian Moon. And Hello Chudlings finished in third place in this event. All right, what is a chud? Is that a slur? Is that an inappropriate word? I already said it, so I guess it's a little bit too late to be asking that, but that team finished in third place. Hey, Mouse is on that team. How about that? In the Zone, Acene's favorite tournament took place on Saturday. It was the 51st edition of this event. Spray ended up winning it. EZMD finished in second place, and the Avengers rounds out your top three there. 26 teams played in this Splat Zones only tournament. Yet again, was that a random stage? It usually is when it comes to that event. And that means within the zones coming up that a Sindo Q Finals should be right around the corner. The CCA Season 7 Grand Finals recap. Division 1 was won by Cal State Polytech University Pomona, the Reef Runners. Second place went to the University of California San Diego Esports Gold, and third place went to the University of Florida Death Roll. Division 2 was won by Texas A&M University White. Varsity Swords Off. Division 3 went to University of Washington Huskies Splatsville Knights Gold. Division 4 was won by Hofstra University Volatile Radiance. Division 5 was won by the University of New Mexico Splatoon Cherry. Division 6, University of North Carolina at Charlotte Niner Esports Green Team. And Division 7 won by the University of Houston Reef Rush. Shout out to the Cougars for winning that one. Announcements. The CCA will be taking some time off after an incredible season, but we'll have some events throughout the summer months for all of you to enjoy. Please stay tuned for future announcements, and don't forget their merch store is still open until the end of April if you're looking to get some CCA swag. You can also follow them on their social medias at Twitter, Blue Sky, Twitch, Discord, and YouTube, all at CCA_Splatoon. Big shout outs to Minnie for once again providing me with information over the course of this CCA season. It's been a while. Maybe we should hit up one of their reps to see if they can come onto the show for an interview to close out the season. Mizuno. That's who we want this time. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by the Book of the Week. Grace and Box. A lovely little story about a girl named Grace who is more interested in the box that her parents' refrigerator came in and all the adventures that she has with said box, and also an attempt to keep the box alive and sturdy with all the wear and tear that comes with playing in a box. I usually talk negative things about the books I read my son because a lot of them are pretty bad. This one is good. I'm a big fan of Grace and Box. So we will make it the official sponsor of today's segment of the weekly recap. Let's start off with Ellie. Seems like a fair spot to start.
Hello.
Good morning, Ellie.
Good morning. Hi, how you doing, Popgun?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. What you got?
Short thing, because I'm not good at speaking. I saw someone say in the chat, the West won this global gauntlet because the Japanese teams were bad, or were worse. You got Chocopero in the mix. How? I feel like the teams this time were as good, if not better. So I don't know. I wouldn't speak down on the accomplishment that we got this time.
Well, one of the examples that I brought up, or not an example, one of the things I brought up with the Splat World Series, most of the teams only played 2 games against Japan. This time around, you're playing at minimum 18. So you get a larger sample size, and you're going to see more fight being put out because there's more opportunities to fight. So were the players worse? I'm not the expert to say that. The Emperor team was just as hilariously overpowered as we've ever seen any team ever. But yeah, I'll push back on all these. The difference comes down to the teams just weren't as good. Now the difference is you get to play more than just 2 games against them. Eventually, Western players are going to start figuring things out, as they did slightly.
Right, that was the whole intent with the format, and I feel like giving them these long sets and a format where they don't get eliminated means that they got to get more familiar with your opponent over time. So I think it went good. We went from winning nothing to taking whole sets and a sweep too. I'm pretty content with what we got.
How did the things go from your end of the camera this weekend?
I tried streaming TikTok. I'm stupid. I didn't do that properly. Production for this event is such a pain, and I think it went good overall, but it is the most overstimulating show I've ever done, and I'm trying to improve on it, but it is so much to manage.
I'm sure you didn't see this, but I was doing the couch cast for the LAN Championship Showdown, and we were watching a specific game, and I forget what happened. I think somebody missed a power clam throw or something, and we just see whoever the streamer was zoom in on the person who missed the throw, and I instantly said oh, I know exactly who that is, and I didn't even realize you were streaming. I went and looked and said, yep, that's Ellie. Yep. That is classic Ellie maneuver, and I love it. I don't know how anyone else feels about it, but I love it when somebody falls off the stage and you zoom in on them. I can't get enough of that. All right. You got anything else?
No, that's all.
Get out of here, Ellie. And thank you for helping me set up the YouTube stream today. Hopefully they're not being cringe over there. Who knows? We'll never check in on them. We're going to bounce around the board like a bad Jeopardy player. Keon, we're going to get to you eventually. Hang on. But we're going to go to a DHVF pointing a gun at me. Good thing we don't show the screen on this one. Good morning.
Hello, Popgun.
Hello.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, as someone who stays up and ungodly hours later. And I greatly appreciate the 11 p.m. Eastern start time for Global Gauntlet. It was a godsend lifesaver. Like I love just having to, it's 2 a.m. Still watching Splatoon, getting some work done in the background. It's excellent experience, and I will be back for the next one. Shout out to all the other fellow night owls in chat watching. This one's for us, and I feel seen. I feel appreciated. It's been great. However, I think if I had to add one suggestion, it'd be like the ban system to like pick the maps. That that took, I think, in my opinion, way too long. I don't know, like it just felt like there was way too much downtime in between the individual matches, not even in between the sets. Like I feel like in between the sets it was fine, but in between the individual matches within the sets, it felt like teams were taking forever to choose what to ban. Then I gotta wait for the other team to ban, then they get the stage, then they get it all set up. Like I feel like that there was a lot of time lost in that whole process, and get to do it time and time again. Like I don't know, like I had the IPL stream on my laptop, and I had the Stanley Cup playoffs on my iPad. I was like alternating between the two, just seeing what happens. And I don't know, it just felt like I was watching a lot more of hockey throughout that entire night, just because, like there was just more action going on. Like I feel like part of it's just the nature of Splatoon and all, but I do feel like I'd rather see, like just like a more streamlined map pick system, or just like predetermined maps, like random maps like Area Cup or whatever. I think that's probably the best way to kind of cut the runtime down a bit. I think I'd rather see it compared to like going to like best of 3 instead of best of 5, because I did really like the best of 5, even though it did also add to the runtime. Like I think it's the big problem with the Spot World Series last summer, in my opinion, was that there just wasn't enough sample size. I feel like the best of 5 format here really adds that sample size to get as many games in. I really enjoyed that, so I think I'd be opposed to removing that for like whatever future editions. But I feel like if you want to cut down time, I'd start with that.
So a good chunk of the delay in the strikes being selected was just all the Japanese players having to figure that out on the fly. Like that was their first time doing it on Sindao.inc. On top of the fact that if we, or not we, I'm not TOing this thing, but as the TOs want to talk to them, first we got to type your message in Google Translate, copy and paste it, and then they got to copy and paste an answer back. So it takes a little bit of time with that. So part of that was just inexperience working the system, and part of that was language barrier. But even with that taken into consideration, I agree with you. I don't think we need to be banning stuff every single time. Like, here's the 3 stages you don't want. There's the 3 stages they don't want. They're gone. Now let's just pick back and forth from what's left. You want that in there because you just don't want the E-Leader teams random game 1, game 2 Urchin Underpass, game 3 Eeltail Alley, which is what we saw almost on repeat throughout the entire Splat World Series with E-Leader teams. But yeah, I feel like there could be a healthy medium between, we don't need to have these conversations every single time. Like, no, you lost, pick from what's left, and let's just get into it. So I agree with that, but I don't. More importantly is, what do the players want? I advocated for best of 3 early watching this thing because I thought the players would want to just get to bed quicker and not play at 4 in the morning. I think I was wrong about that. And that's a good thing, because what the players want ultimately will translate to the audience. But yes, I think everybody just wants to get into the game and spend less time. Like if you spend 5 minutes back and forth, you strike 2, we pick 1, we do a handshake, and then the game's over in 30 seconds and we got to do that all over again. Like, that's not fun for anybody. But I feel like all of that's going to be improved with the next Global Gauntlet, because I think a lot of people share your sentiment with that, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think there's definitely a balance to be struck with it, like you said. And I don't know, I think it's also worth noting that there's probably, I'd say maybe not a significant difference, but I'd say a difference between what non-Japanese players want and what Japanese players want in terms of the format. Like I feel like I know if I'm looking at perspective from like an NA or EU team, I want as many at bats as possible to try and take as many games as possible. So that means longer sets, best of 5. And I'd go for best of 7 if I was in their shoes. I don't know if they're up for it, but I certainly would be. I don't know if that's what the Japanese players want though, but who's to say? Who's to say?
Not me, because I'm just a schmuck watching it. and I didn't
Me
even
too.
make it all the
Me
way
too.
through. I was like, I got to go to bed at some point. Wake me up when PXG wins this thing.
No,
Which
I
in
mean,
my
as someone
mind
who
they
watched
did.
the whole thing start to finish, I'd recommend it. Very fun experience overall. Even if I was a little tired by the end, but the vibes are nice. It's certainly a new vibe. Just watching something at like 2, 3 a.m. is like, oh, yep, this is just how it goes.
Great points, DHVF. You still haven't figured out what that stands for, do you?
No, I don't. I'm not gonna have an answer for you. I'm sorry to leave you disappointed all these times, but
That's all right. That's all. Disappointment is what I'm used to, but I'm confident you can turn that around eventually. Good job. You come back
All
on
right.
anytime you want.
Thank you.
Wait, did somebody really suggest best of 7? No, we're not doing that. No way. We'd be here till 8 in the morning if we were to do that. Let's bring on Para Meow. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Generally, just more like a question kind of thing, but with the current state of comp, do you think lower level teams are taking advantage of like the higher level tournaments that they have access to a lot of the time?
Yes.
I think
as somebody who does verification for Low Ink, we see a lot of players play in open style group tournaments like SOS, like a Miku Miku Beam.
yeah,
You see the Europeans stuck playing Paddling Pool and Triton Cup, but they will play Paddling
yeah,
Pool and Triton Cup on occasion. So yeah, I do think the resources are there, and the players do take advantage of. Now, there's plenty of players that don't, and that's their prerogative to do so. But the narrative of like low level teams dodging open tournaments like that couldn't be further from the truth. There's no data to support that. So yeah, I'd say
yeah.
they take advantage.
I think generally, especially with a lot of lower level teams, it can be seen as a little bit jarring to do so, especially with the idea of mental and such. But I do feel like it's such a good.
Yeah, and I think a good chunk of low level teams agree with that sentiment. Um, so yeah, I
Which
wouldn't
was
push back on that at all.
Yeah, it was actually really enjoyable. I think especially with things like in the zone, I think high level experience, especially against top level teams, even if it's not like even if even if a team like does really bad, like they get KO'd like 4 games and they don't get a lot of playtime, I think it's still like a really good experience because it can help with mental. And I think that's like one of the aspects a lot of teams tend to avoid, especially lower level ones going into these kinds of things. It's a really interesting prospect to think about, actually.
Have you played in an open level tournament before?
Yes, I've played in many. I've played in a fair amount of Miku Miku Beams. I've played in Paddling, Triton, SOS. I recently played in the Zone. Fort Blank Z. That was very, very fun, actually. I will admit that was a lot more fun than I anticipated. I think especially with like tournaments that top level teams playing, I feel like even if you're a low level team going into it, I think it's still really good experience, even if it seems scary. I think it's just a general place of encouragement, really. It is really fun to do those kinds of tournaments, though.
Well, good. I'm glad that is a narrative, and I'm glad that there are a lot of lower level teams that do take advantage of those things, and I'm glad that a lot of people are starting to recognize that low level does that. Just because they don't play in like a major doesn't mean that they're scared of anything, because that's not
Yeah.
that just means they don't want to play in your event specifically.
Oh, yeah,
Good points.
absolutely.
We're gonna move on to the next people. Who are you're not actually Para Meow? Who are you for real?
Hmm. Who could I possibly be? Nah, I do genuinely go by Parameow, but I'm Parasite from Rest in the Milky Way.
Oh, Rest in the Milky Way. Let's go. You had a player represented in the LAN Championship Showdown. I'm sure you were going nuts for them last night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he actually wants to speak, so I'm gonna let him do so on his own terms when he's able to. Which should be really fun to listen to.
Is their hand raised right now? Who is it?
Yes, it's Aiden.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna move you back to the audience then.
Goodbye.
Hold on, wait. Where did? Oh, move to audience. There we go. And we're not gonna bring that person on. We're gonna bring Keon on. Let's go, Keon. Let's go, Keon.
What
Yay! Let's go, Keon.
Yeah.
How you doing? What you got?
I'm doing well. First of all, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. PJ has figured out that, like, oh, just because they say I have to go to bed doesn't mean I can't just get out of my bed and leave at any point. So that's been fun. Of like, no, like wrestling him as soon as he like tries to escape his room at 2 a.m. But other than that, we've been doing good. What you got?
Yeah, two things I wanted to bring up, both pertain to Global Gauntlet and the LCS especially. Global Gauntlet. So unfortunately, I could not stay up past basically when you guys were on for the analyst test, which I feel kind of partially bad about. But I got to see a quick glimpse of the strike system, and I feel like this is one of those systems where I feel like it will work better in LAN because
Yes.
you can definitely feel like that would be a situation where you're gonna have two teams. Imagine it this way: you're gonna have two teams. One team's gonna probably deliberate for about 5 hours, obviously with hyperbole there, to determine which map they want to get rid of, and then on the other side, there's gonna be the same old song dance. You add more bands on top of it from each round, and then you'll get probably the longest run time of the round. So I feel like my take with the strike system is it would be perfect in LAN because it's quicker coordination to the TDOs, obviously, but second of all, I feel like once that with that quick coordination, you can definitely get your strategy set, and then the tournament can still definitely run as fast without having to wait on the other person because of the online aspect. That's my take on that strike system.
So the first time I saw this being used was Big House, about 3 years ago, where you had Raze and Magic right there at your station with an iPad being like, okay, it's your guys' turn. Do this. All right, now I'm going to give it to you. And they're just right there moving them along and not having to like, hey, are you guys like there? Do you guys know you're supposed to hit the strike thing? This is a new feature to Sendai.Inc. as well. Like there are ways to where you can add time limits to where like, okay, you have this certain amount of time to make selections. And if you don't do it, then like it either just skips your part of the selection or the TOs have a chance to like do it for you or something. So I think that might be something that'll be put into play, is just like implementing an actual time limit to making these things.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'll reiterate, in my opinion, if there was a way to where you could just select ahead of time what you want striked, and then what's left is what left. You lose, you pick from what's left. And let's just do that. Let's just get it over with. But yeah, I like the idea of this thing. It's just this was the test run essentially for the TOs and for Sendo to see how this will work and what kind of tweaks need to be made to keep the same spirit of the rule intact while also speeding this thing the hell up, which is what it desperately needs across the board. Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure, because I feel like it was definitely a case where I also go on the record that tournaments trying out new formats for the first time is awesome. Personally, I feel like you got to take risks, because if you don't do it the first time, then you'll at least get the information that you know, rather than that. I feel like there are definitely cases where people look at this first tournament format, they go to Blue Sky, send tweet, oh, this format sucks, don't ever run this again, and then just like, you got to give it a few tweaks here and there. That's kind of my take on that. Is I think it was a good thing as an experimental thing. I just go on the record, I think it's just much better to do in a LAN environment just because of the sped up runtime, and you don't run the risk as you mentioned with things running longer because you're having to wait on people. So that's that, and I think the LCS side, this should be quick. you and I were basically on different blocks in the multi-stream analyst desk setup. How does couch casting kind of feel compared to, doing an actual cast? Because that was kind of awkward for me when I did it the first time.
So we didn't have any direction as far as and Falco DM'd me about this like 3-4 months ago. If I was going, hey, would you want to do this specific like couch cast thing? And I was like, yes, Falco. Anytime you ask me for something, if available, I'm always going to say yes. What I didn't, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. But I know what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to just do play-by-play of everything we were looking at.
Right.
Like, that's not the point of this. But I also, at the same time, didn't want to do NFL Red Zone, where it's like, okay, Stormy, what are we looking at right here? What are your thoughts on this? Like, that's not Stormy's strength. Stormy's strength is storytelling. And given, like, the emotion of everything that's going on and passion. So that you have to really just kind of build what you do with a couch cast based on who you're sharing the couch with. And what we ultimately did was just turn it into a podcast with the matches running in the background. And if we saw anything worth mentioning, then we would hop in and be like, oh, wait, did you just see that? This happened right there? Like, I don't know if that's the most entertaining way to go through it, but I would, if I were to do it with those two again, I would do it the same exact way. And if I had a different set of folks, like if I had K-Bot and like someone else who's like super analytical, that would be completely different. It'd just be like, hey, K-Bot, what are your thoughts on this game going on over here, kind of thing.
I think it was kind of the same thing with Jem and Seth, and working with Jem once or twice before. I kind of picked up on what he wanted to do best. Same with Seth, working with her multiple times. So it was kind of the same idea, kind of the same idea with that as well. No, that's really all I had there, boss.
Well, good. That's all you need to have, Keon. Your Wolves are cooked. You know that, right? Even if they win, they're done.
So, not coming into playoffs, we were not looking fantastic. The fact that we're up 3-1 with originally a hobbled Ant and an original working Dante was kind of a boon. Losing Dante sucks. Ant was rough during the series, so we're like, okay, we can still do this. The hopium in Wolves Land, Popgun, is that we can possibly compete with the Spurs. The reality is, I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, you can't. What you're like 3 concussions away from competing with the Spurs. Don't give me that crap.
It's Wolves in 4. It's Wolves in 4 against the Spurs, assuming we get out of it until it isn't, and then it'll be Wolves in 5, Wolves in 6, and then Wolves in 7 until it isn't. But we're gonna continue to believe until the end.
Wolves in 27 might be your best bet. Oh my gosh, get out of here. All right, we'll get Aiden on. I see no reason not to. What you got? Good morning.
I just want to bring up first off that Paramount brought it, or like made it seem like I was the team member who played in LCS, which is not true. It was our team coach who played in LCS.
Stop right there. Are you telling me someone came on to my show, took time out of today to raise their hand to get on the Taking Your Call segment on the first ever time I'm live on YouTube and lie? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't think it was on purpose, but they did set it up in a interesting way.
So you were telling me the coach of or the captain of who for Resting in the Milky Way participated last night?
Our amazing coach Parachu from Barbecue Pork Jambalaya.
The coach, okay. All right. Who are you? Why am I talking to you then? What significance do you have?
I'm another member of Resting in the Milky Way who wanted to talk on Popcast.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I brought you under the false pretenses, but you know.
But yeah, first thing I want to bring up immediately is just shout out to Barbecue Pork Jambalaya in LCS for taking second place and representing H-Town Splashdown. Just they have such amazing players. I'm glad they got to represent my state. They very. I'm proud of them.
Okay.
And then second off is actually kind of an announcement about Rest in the Milky Way. Rest in the Milky Way is officially disbanding on Friday.
What? Why are you breaking this on my show? What's wrong with you guys? Is that a lie too? What are you doing?
No, it's not. We just like settled on this like this morning. We're playing an all for one on Friday, and we are just doing one last send off before we all take our separate ways. We have all of our team members are all doing like amazing, are going on to do amazing things in the scene. Parameow has already getting a team set up. Same with Astria, our captain. I posted my FA post and got a immediate response like 9 minutes later. So we are playing in all for one on Friday, and after that, Rest of the Milky Way will be no more.
Well, okay. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. This has been the worst taking your call guest I've ever had. First on, you come on because you were lied about your credentials, and then you tell me that one of the more genuinely liked teams is disbanding. You want to tell me Santa Claus isn't real while you're at it? You want to diss on the Tooth Fairy? How else you want to ruin my day?
I can't ruin, but I guess I can say that one positive thing is that on the fantasy league for Ludi, I was the only person to vote for Tasteless in Div 9, and they are in finals right now.
Let's go. Div 9 representation. You know what? The seating council didn't believe in them, but you did. That means the world to them. How you doing overall on the fantasy thing?
I think I'm like in top 50. So I'm definitely getting carried by the Div X to 3 and Div
we gotta
8 to 10.
I gotta move you to the audience. This can only go. I mean, this is bad, but this can only get worse.
Sorry about that.
Let's have a moment of silence for Rest in the Milky Way. And I've been afraid of changes 'cause I built my life around you. All right. Let's bring on a few more. Let's try to get some folks we haven't talked to before. I don't know who Cat Shenanigans is, so this could, but I mean, it can't be bad as what that last one was. What you got, Cat Shenanigans?
What do you mean they're breaking up? What was that team? You can't just drop a bombshell and leave.
It happened. It happened. It didn't matter if you could or couldn't. It just happened.
Bro. Alright, I've got something for you. You were asking us, do all these events altogether hurt or help the event in question? I want to answer that, actually.
Okay.
I think it's awesome. Back-to-back Splatoon action for a whole weekend is a competitive Splatoon fan's dream. I should know because I'm that fan. I love seeing it. But what I have thought about, if you do so much at once, you could actually end up burning out some of the audience, and it's because it's a ton to keep up with. We had so many storylines happen this weekend. I can't speak English. And it can be a lot to piece together depending on how caught up you are with it all. What do you think about that?
Well, as I was kind of alluding to in my segment, I enjoyed watching this entire weekend. And if you were to tell me we're doing it again next month, I would tune in. I would watch it for sure. I think each event would have benefited from having their own weekend so that we can spend this entire week as a community building up for the LCS, and then we all watch it, and then we get another week where we can just talk about it and digest it as its own thing. instead of where I had to do today was talk about it in conjunction with Global Gauntlet and the Splatoon 3 North American League. So I'm not, this isn't an ideal thing, but as for the first time we got to see something like this as a community, it kind of gave us that sense of what it was like. Okay, this is cool, but it'd be better if these things were spread out more, which is, again, can you do that? Is it possible to do that? Because if you're running over an event this weekend, you're going to run over one the next weekend. There's so many awesome things going on at the time, which is cool, but it's also a juggling act. And also you can plan something out, and then the overlords will be like, we're doing a whole league for the next 10 weeks. And it's like, I already had plans, but okay. That's my thoughts on that.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing because I'm over here like, well, I absolutely love that we're doing everything, but there's not a lot of room to breathe because you had the Global Gauntlet happen overnight this weekend. Now you've got the NAL League happening. Now you got LCS, and I'm over here like, that's a lot to keep up with. I wish I could watch it all, but I've got to touch grass and Which, by the way, I have another question for you about the Global Gauntlet. I know I'm
Sure.
going pretty fast, but I don't want to hold anybody up. But what are you hoping to get out of the next Global Gauntlet? Do you have any hopes and dreams riding on this? Just anything you hope happens during or after the event's over?
I just hope that the folks that are running this event are having a good time and are proud of what they're accomplishing, and are seeing all their hopes and dreams with this event come true, to whatever that is. As far as like, do I want to see like FT win more matches, like the West be more competitive? Yeah, but I'm also not the one grinding to make that happen. So taking that takes a lot of time and effort to get those kind of results. But no, what I would love to see eventually down the line is the time zone switch between each Global Gauntlet. Like, okay, we got the night shift this time. Next time we get the morning shift. Like, I would love to see something like that. But but no, I don't have any like specific hopes for that, I guess. Cool.
That makes sense.
All
And
right.
like you were asking earlier, I'm not cat shenanigans. I'm actually Moku.
Oh, what a cat shenanigan kind of answer that is. Back to the audience with you. That's the problem when you guys are named after your team. We're going to do... Oh, wait. There was a... Oh, wait. Oh, here's the... Okay, so we got one more person on. Azalea.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning. It's like 4 p.m. for me. I know it's later for you, so it's not even morning, but...
It doesn't mean we can't say good morning. We can't greet each other in a positive way.
Yeah, I'll let you have that.
Okay, thank you. What do you got? What's on your heart that you want to share with the world today?
I kind of want to push back a little on the strike select system with, what you guys have said about the map selecting system for Global Gauntlet.
Yes.
I believe I'm just thinking about like last year, and I know you mentioned it already. Just like, oh, you're an Ealer team, okay, we're gonna play on Urchin, and then the other team's like, okay, well let's play on Eeltail, or a hallway map. And I just believe that maybe we should find a more middle ground, but I do think what we have so far is a lot better compared to last year.
Yeah.
And I believe it breeds like a lot more thought when you're choosing your map. Like maybe you want to, pick a map that you're better at, or maybe you want to pick a map that, they're going to struggle with. I think it's definitely for a more like player perspective, a lot more enjoyable since you have to think a bit more. But I understand for a perspective of like the spectator, it might be a little more boring to just see the map, seeing it like screen and no decisions being made yet.
Yeah, it's I'm not pushing back on the end result of like, okay, now I mean it is kind of silly. We do the strikes, and most of the time you're still going to Mako Mart and like all these other stages where it's like, okay, they were gonna go there anyways. But
Yeah.
what's frustrating from the viewer perspective, and it has to be frustrating from the players as well, It's just how long it takes for people to make decisions with these kinds of things. Now, again, as I've mentioned several times, it's the first time it's happening. Obviously, I think the first round, especially the one that was on stream, I don't think the players from Japan even knew what was going on. And I question whether like the area cup reps are like explaining any of this to them, because like they're like, wait, what is like, can we just play? No, you got to strike a couple of things first. So again, the more people do it, the more people are going to get in line. It's just from the viewer perspective, like when it's 2 a.m. and I'm just listening to the commentators talk in circles about strikes and bans, and just like there's no gameplay going on, I just want to like, I just want to pass out from frustration. And but again, I feel like even without any tweaks, it's going to be better next time. But there's still some minor tweaks that could be made to make it even a better experience.
Yeah, definitely. I remember I looked in the chat, or like I looked in the the chat of the game that was being held up, and I was seeing like one of the area cup representatives speaking in Japanese, trying to explain the format to the team. So I definitely think that we need to have a more concrete, maybe like something translated into Japanese, like explaining the system, and we make sure we give it to the teams beforehand, so they're not, on the spot like, how does this work?
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that was. And I mean, you could like create a video or something. There's no guarantee people are going to watch it. It is what it is, I guess. But it'll get better.
It's just something I would hope they would watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think another type of solution we could come up with, I think you mentioned it also, just like having a time limit on it. Maybe like
that wasn't my idea. I think it was Ellie's idea initially. And the cool thing is that, as you know, we're so connected with Sendo, and Sendo seems extremely excited about this event, which is awesome for us. And like, suggestions can be made. Like, it'd be cool if we could do this, or can we try this? And the response has pretty much been like, yeah, let me see if I could do that. It's like, yeah, this is awesome.
I know.
So
I think Sendo's. Sorry.
I think Ellie's come up with some good ideas that can be implemented to tweak things. Nothing to like be announced at this time, but yeah, there's a couple of things that can be done. But in my opinion, if you just strike what you want at the start. And I know there's people that are saying like you can't do it because you don't know who your opponent is. Well, during the Global Gauntlet, you literally know who all 6 of your opponents are, like a week out. And it doesn't matter what the seed is. You might play them in round 1 or round 6. It doesn't matter. You know who your opponent is. You could do this a week ahead of time if you wanted to for that. But I don't know. It'll be better next time. It was just frustrating to watch this time around. No doubt about it.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, us at IPL, and I'm assuming Area Cup, we always want to strive to make this the best event, not only for the players but for the spectators. So.
You assume Area Cup, but really they're having
maybe they want the worst event ever.
their secret conversations like, man, this IPL crew sucks. Let's sabotage this event and take it from them. That's what they're.
Oh my god, yeah.
We're going back to random maps. We're not doing this strike ban nonsense ever again.
We're all playing on Turf War. You know what?
Oh my gosh, might as well. We'll be heading that way soon.
The way Nintendo intended.
Is that it?
All right.
You got anything else?
Yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to say.
Well, you come on anytime. And are you genuinely enjoying working on this project?
Yes.
That's what I want to know.
As soon as Flat World Series was over last year, I was so sad. I was complaining to Ellie. I'm like, I want to come back. Like, I've been brainstorming ideas constantly, and I know I've been like driving Ellie crazy just talking about SWS, and it wasn't even happening yet. It's like, oh, let's do this. Let's do this. And like, it's good that we're planning ahead, and I'm having a lot of fun. Like, I don't know, SWS and Global Gauntlet and Extension, those are my babies.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Is there anything you've wanted to do with the Splat World Series as a whole, but haven't been able to do it for whatever like reason? Like, what is the one thing you really want to pull off but just can't?
My easiest answer would just be like being able to fly out the players and like have them
Come on.
all in an in-person event. Because you know how many problems that would solve?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Like I feel so bad watching the EU players saying like, "Oh, I can't play. Like I'm playing at like 2 in the morning," and it's like, it sucks, but it's like, that's kind of the like downside to online international events, that like someone's gonna get the short end of the stick. And I wish we could just all fly out to Japan and like be in this big arena. And I said this a lot too about like Hemi, who's the Japanese caster over at Area Cup. His voice is made for stadiums. I swear. Like if you guys have watched his commentary, like he is a shoutcaster. He is so hype. He has so much like fun energy, and I feel like he would thrive in that kind of environment.
Yes. I don't know a word of what Himi is saying, but I still listen to it because it's like, oh yes, like you cap that zone. Yeah, you pull off that flank. Oh my gosh, I want to run through a wall, even though I've not. It's
I feel what he's saying. I don't know, but I feel it. It is
exactly, and like I always say, it's genuine and not like forced, which is really my favorite casters to listen to. All right, that's enough rambling out of you. All right, but you come on anytime. You're good at talking on this and entertaining. We like that.
Thank you.
All right, so here's the new thing we're gonna do on this show, because there's been a lot of times where I have people left over and I don't get to talk to them, and I feel bad about that. So here's what we're gonna do. For everybody that is left, we're gonna bring you on for a speed round. You are gonna get 10 seconds exactly to say whatever it is that you want to say, and then we're moving to the audience and moving on to the next person. You're on. Timer starts now.
Lands are awesome and cool, and you support your locals. That's all.
Let's go. Support your locals, especially support the ones going on in Owensboro, Kentucky. Electro J, 10 seconds, go.
I gotta say, when it comes to the strike system with SWS, I think it works really well, and it's definitely gonna get better over time. Sure, it might suck right now, or there's some hardships with it, but it's gonna work out in the future. Trust.
I like that. I'm not gonna push back on that. Mouse, 10 seconds. Accept the invite. There you go. Go.
Okay. Someone messaged me about my commentary when I was about to give up and said it was really nice and I should keep going. And also it's pronounced hello, Chudlings. And I can't believe you actually shouted me out because of FTIU bronze. How far I've come.
Hello, Chudlings getting first place. Third place is from the Ink Up. Then we got Neowave. Go.
Follow Neowave on Blue Sky and promote Judd's Got Scooby Toilet. Judd's Got Yams edition. Yeah. We like that. Unless we don't. Hey, wait, no, you were already on. You lied to me. Get out of here. You're not getting another shot. Still bronze. Let's go. One more time with you. Close us out on a strong 10 seconds. Go.
Oh my god, hi Popgun. Hi everyone. I want you to ban Paramount from Loic. I want to congrats Seoul for winning Loic with only 3 games lost. I want to say well done to Seoul for getting 5th in Division 5. That's my GOAT. I have questions. Am I allowed to ask questions or do I not have time?
No, and we're done. That is it for today's episode of the Popcast. If you'd like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, please reach out at the socials below. YouTube at 25 Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Blue Sky at Popgun, Discord at Popgun. We'll get you on next time. Thanks for playing the speed round. Good job, all of you. A good episode of the Popcast. You should be proud. I hope I successfully end the stream on YouTube. I guess we could find somebody to raid on Twitch. That might be too much work for my uncivilized brain. Let's just try to end both streams successfully. So with that being said, stay safe, get vaccinated, wear a mask when applicable, support your locals and lands, and do not die